This month's theme is the art of, and today's topic is the art of uncertainty. Some of you may remember that I've talked about the art of uncertainty before. One of my colleagues wrote a book on the subject, a man who is a leading motivational speaker and writer and retired Science of Mind minister, who reveals the priceless benefits to living in the present moment and finding purpose in it. This past week, Reverend Dennis Merritt Jones did a presentation on Zoom for our ministers throughout the world. His topic, of course, was revealing the priceless benefits by living in the present and finding purpose in it by recognizing the art of uncertainty. It was indeed inspiring and reviving as he spoke extemporaneously on what the art of uncertainty looks like in these past 2 or 3 months on our planet, and in each moment. His message to us was very clear. Life is a mystery. Learn to live in it. We're here to expand the spirituality of it. We, folks, you and me, are here, right now, to expand the spirituality of the mystery of it. And though our current way of life is unprecedented for us, the greatest call is simply to be conscious of it. Even though sometimes it may feel like you're standing on the edge of a precipice, sensing uncertainty and the unknown. It's not unlike the tiny fledglings in their bird nest, warm and protected by their parents. They're fed and cared for until that inevitable moment when the unknown becomes reality and they move into the uncertainty of challenging it. But as you know, first that bird must move to the edge of the nest, then to flap its wings, then to trust and lift its feet from the nest and discover it's airborne. And like that bird was created to do exactly that, so too are we created such that when we challenge the unknown by opening up to our potential, we begin to move, and the way opens. We too are designed for success. And when we challenge it, we succeed. You probably have heard, as I have, that the outcome of this world event will leave humankind changed. I don't doubt that, because we are seeing an increasing number of incidences where and when people of all ages, countries of origin, and lifestyles are recognizing we're all in this together. Indeed, that's nothing new, that we are all in this together. What's new is the realization of that spreading across the globe. Our new Centers for Spiritual Living spiritual leader, Reverend Dr. Edward Billon, however, suggests we phrase it like this: we are raising a universal contagion of good. The question is, however, how do we get that message out to those who don't yet know, that don't yet understand that, or whose uncertainty about the future is shrouded in fear? I think we can all agree that many people experiencing this event are fearful, and understandably so. And we can agree that the event did not create their fear, rather that it awakened or heightened its presence. Fear. The word itself is a perfect acronym. Actually, more than one acronym. Fear. F, false. E, evidence. A, appearing. R, real. False evidence appearing real. Or fear. F, forget. E, everything. A, and. R, run. F-E-A-R, forget everything and run. But whichever of those applies to an individual, it still can be a powerful emotion, especially when we realize that something in our life had originally set that off. And so it resides in our subconscious mind. That creates a plethora of behaviors in different people, depending on what their early experiences were that generated fear. And believe me, I'm not suggesting ignoring fear when one experiences. It can be an ally, and in the case of this physical dis-ease, an ally that encourages us to protect ourselves and our loved ones, friends, and neighbors from it. And at the same time, by realizing that fear arises from within each individual and not out in the world, we can gain great understanding about our authentic self. However, the authentic self knows no fear because its point of origin is in infinite presence, which is love in its highest vibration. This, then, is the work we do, individually and collectively in the science of mind, to protect and support ourselves and each human being, to transcend that fear by trusting the infinite presence and by taking positive action to be safe. Brings back the old saying, treat and move your feet, doesn't it? It also reminds us that this is an opportunity to ask ourselves, what is the gift already given to me in this earthly journey? And the answer, clearly, is life. Then we can ask ourselves, am I honoring the giver of the gift by responding mindfully, consciously, and staying in the present moment? By asking ourselves these questions and sharing them with others who demonstrate a desire to understand, we get answers that make life worth living, even when some trails of fear may remain. With conscious, present moment awareness comes the ability to transform your moments of uncertainty into growth opportunities and healing. At the top of this talk, I quoted Dr. Dennis as saying, life is a mystery. Learn to live in it. And we are here to expand the spirituality of it. So let's talk about that. There are those who say all people are mystics, and they fall into two categories. The pessimistic, who sees the glass as half empty all the time, and the optimistic, who sees it half full or more all the time. And whichever you consider yourself to be, the universal law of attraction assures you are predicting your own future based upon where you are putting your attention. This is a wise point to remember when we are called to the edge of uncertainty. Like the baby bird at the edge of the nest, it's all about attitude, and in the bird's case, altitude. Perspective matters. Dennis quotes Norman Vincent Peale, who said, become a possibilitarian. No matter how dark things seem to be, or actually are, raise your sights and see positive possibilities, because they're always there. Yes, perspective matters. And I heard someone say a few days ago, problems bring about solutions. And one of the things about our current world challenge is finding the solutions, sharing those solutions, and practicing them. That could be described as the art of uncertainty. That could be described as setting the altitude of your attitude. And the remarkable thing every day is that we have a choice regarding the attitude we will embrace that day, which is another way of saying that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Our source of being is always a spiritual one. So the idea here is to raise our attitude to the altitude of that source, God, divine intelligence, creative energy. In the science of mind, we call that going to cause, don't we? Everything begins in mind, mind with a capital M, meaning the mind of God. And meaning, as spiritual beings having a human experience, we can choose to be the problem or to be the solution. We get to choose to raise the altitude of the collective consciousness by contributing our knowing, first of all, that this challenge to the health of the people on this planet is now being replaced with wellness. Next, we choose to raise the altitude of the collective consciousness by releasing all negative expressions and by replacing them with, we are raising a universal contagion of good. Next, we get to choose to raise the altitude of the collective consciousness by maintaining the coming together of people across the globe in what can be called returning to center. Returning to center is defined as the point from which an activity or process is directed or on which it is focused. The ongoing outpouring of caring for others, not just medically, but emotionally, physically, and spiritually, is an example of the attitude of returning to center. That in and of itself is a shift in the altitudes of so many who have forgotten we live together on this planet. Our collective consciousness must reflect that we are here together and to remember that what affects one affects all. This past week, Centers for Spiritual Living presented a 90-minute prayer-a-thon on Zoom for our ministers throughout the world. Our organization's World Ministry of Prayer hosted this, and in 20-minute intervals, designated practitioners and ministers offered spiritual mind treatments. There were 4 designated categories in which affirmative prayers were provided by ministers and practitioners from all over the world. The first one was peace and wholeness for patients and families affected by the global pandemic. 2 was love and courage for medical staffs and first responders as they continue to care for those infected by the virus. 3, creativity and beauty for students, teachers, businesses, and churches throughout this time in our world. And 4, wisdom and guidance for global leadership and the wellness of our planet. So if the thought has crossed your mind, what can I do? Here's a wonderful example of where to start. Your words in treatment and in affirmations are just as powerful as those hundreds of people who took part in that prayer-a-thon. Your belief that you're raising a universal contagion for good is just as powerful as our organization's spiritual leader uttering those words. And it's another opportunity for you to contribute to the collective consciousness. And watch for an email this week, inviting you to join with me each morning for a 15 to 20-minute meditation and spiritual mind treatment on Zoom. Join with me in being here to expand the spirituality of returning to center. And so it is.